On today's Ask Zach, we're going to talk about how I ended up playing on Brad Paisley's Snow Globe Town and getting to appear on The Tonight Show and getting to be in a Hallmark movie. Well, hello, friends, and welcome to Ask Zach. Yes, today we're going to tell the crazy tale of how I ended up playing on Brad's new Christmas album, Snow Globe Town. And then I ended up getting to tape a performance on The Tonight Show and get to be in a Hallmark movie. And then I've been doing some shows with Brad out on the road. He's been touring up in Canada, and I've done a bunch of shows with him up there. I guess about 8 or 10 of them at this point, something like that. Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Snow Globe Town is just an incredible album, and I don't know, maybe it's hard for me to be objective, but I think it's a really great album. It's a really great mix of originals and, kind of classic Christmas tunes, and of course, it's got plenty of guitar on it, and of course, the lion's share is Brad, but I got some little moments where I got to play some fills, and I even got to play a solo on one of the tunes, so yeah, it's a fun one. All right, quick pause for the cause. I need to thank all my Patreon members because they are truly what keeps this channel going. So thank you to them. You guys are a huge blessing to me. So thank you. I need to thank everyone that's picked up a t-shirt. Very glad that the new merch company is doing a great job. They're responding to emails, they're shipping, and this is the Ask Zach, shirt, Ask Zach logo shirt. So yeah, and we've got plenty of stuff to for you to peruse and to have fun with. All right, and thanks to everyone that's put money in the tip jar and just put nice comments on the video. So thank you. All right, enough of that. Let's dive in. All right, so how did I end up playing on a Brad Paisley Christmas album? Well, of course, we've been friends for 30 plus years, but that doesn't mean I play on his records. But earlier this year, Brad was in a situation where the label wanted him to cut a bunch of songs, and there wasn't going to be a lot of time for a bunch of overdubs. And so he invited me to play along with his road band, and his road band plays on all of his records. And cut some stuff. And of course, that stuff hasn't been released yet. But those sessions went well. And then an opportunity came up with Hallmark where they wanted him to do kind of a theme song for their holiday season. And then it turned into a whole album and an appearance in a Hallmark movie. And so he was kind of under the gun. He only had 3 weeks in which to cut a record. So that means, you got to track it, do overdubs, mix it, master it, everything. So I got invited again to be a part of the group. And so it was Brad's road band, which is Ben Caesar on drums, who's fantastic, Kenny Lewis on bass, Randall Curry on steel guitar, Justin Williamson on fiddle, and Gary Hooker on a guitar also. And then we had kind of a ringer session piano player, to kind of reel us in, to be, to kind of to chart stuff and to, help us out. And on some of the sessions was Gordon Mote, who is legendary in Nashville, pianist. And then we had Jim Brown, who's known as Moose, and Moose is just a character. He's a great player and a great guy, and he was a co-writer on It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere. So, he's got some mailbox money. So, but he's a great, great, great guy, and he plays like he's played with everyone from Willie Nelson to Jamie Johnson and everyone in between. So we convened at Brad's studio, and they had a bunch of tunes that that Brad had written a number of tunes. He had written songs specifically for the album. Then we did some covers, because to be a Christmas album you got to have some standards, and he did some interesting standards like Christmas Time's a Comin', which I got to actually play a solo on, and I'm gonna try to play it here. I think it's something like this. And then even played a little Ooh Las Vegas at the beginning of it, where it's just riding on the E. So got a little bit of that in. And then there was also My Favorite Things, which is, of course, from The Sound of Music, which has kind of become a Christmas standard at this point. And Brad did a stellar job, not just on guitar, but his vocals on it. I was very impressed. So, really, really fun album, to cut. We did it in 3 or 4 days, and it was just fun. Of course, it's a Brad Paisley record, and and he has a voice, and he has a voice on the guitar, and so part of my job was to stay out of the way of that voice, and I'm an auxiliary guitar player, so part of that is, of course, playing background parts and playing fills when it's your turn, which a lot of times you'll hear me, like a second verse of a song, and to kind of differentiate myself from Brad's guitar sound, where he's using a telly on the bridge pickup into a Vox or a Trainwreck amplifier. I used this Glazer telly, but I would blend in the middle pickup to give it a different sound, or I would just go ahead and go to this position, the number 4 position, where both of them are full on. And then I would use my Headstrong Lil King amp. And effect-wise, I would use a little compression, a little slapback, and then a little bit of TC chorus. And that was just to, again, differentiate, to get kind of a more Strato telly sound into a Fender amp with a little bit of chorus on it. It was kind of like an 80s kind of thing, a little bit Albert Lee, a little bit Ricky Skaggs kind of stuff. And then I did a lot of B-bender things, just to give it a different flavor when I did do fill, so that it wasn't, so people could, so you guys could differentiate when it was Brad and when it was me. So, I used this guitar. I used my Strat on My Favorite Things because I needed a whammy bar. And then I have a Dan Electro Tic Tac that I used on a song or two. And I'm going to have to listen to the album hard again and so I can figure out which song it was, because we're going to have to play a lot of these songs down the road. So, but yeah, whole lot of fun. So yeah, we just, and again, Gordon and Jim, kind of charted tunes and kind of helped us through the whole process. And of course, Luke Wooten produced it. He's been producing Brad for the last decade or so. He does a great job. But we just had a ton of fun doing the album, and that, I think it comes out in the music. And then of course the Hallmark wanted Brad to be in the movie doing a performance, and so of course we got the call to show up, and we didn't play live. We pantomimed because again, it's a movie and everything, and they don't want to be dealing with audio. So we just got out there, and we were wearing our black jeans and black sport coats, and went up there. And it was funny. I had my Glazer Strat that's the same color with the 3 of these kind of pickups, and I just had a cable, and I actually just kind of ran the cable, under the piano, So anyway, so I know I'll probably be only a blip in the movie, but I have. I'm not even plugged into an amplifier. I just have a cable, like running into the piano or something like that. So, anyway, but it was a lot of fun. Which the movie, kind of TV business is basically a lot of waiting around. Then it's hurry up, get on the stage, perform, and then get the hell out of the way. Get out of here. We don't want to see your face anymore. That's the way it works. So we did that, and again, it was fun. Then there was the call to do the Tonight Show, and of course, for the Tonight Show, you actually get to play. So again, I took this guitar, and we did Counting Down the Days, and had to use a rental amp, and I haven't had, the only rental amp I've really had good success with have been AC30s, which I know a lot of people have bad luck with those, but I've always had good, good experiences with backline and AC30. And even though it's kind of anti what I just described earlier, but I still used this guitar and kind of went for a strattier sound, and I used the TC chorus on my pedal board because I flew with this guitar on my pedal board and then just used backline. And it was real interesting because, again, this is kind of part of the TV movie kind of thing where, you wait around for a long time, and then all of a sudden, I didn't realize we were pre-taping because, we get out there and there's no audience there. There's no Jimmy Fallon. There's nobody there. So, and the performance, I think, will be on November 30th when it'll be shown. But, yeah, so we did Counting Down the Days, and so we got to do it a couple times just to make sure it was right, and make sure they got their lighting right and everything. And we did that, and we kind of hung out in New York City for the rest of the day, and then we flew home that night. So it was a real quick up and back. I mean, I think I was in New York City for about 30 hours total, and but got some good ramen, and also got some good pizza, because you always got to have some pie when you're in New York City. Yeah, then also lately I've been, Brad asked me to play some shows with him, and so I've been, out there with the band for this Canadian tour that he's been doing. And of course, that's a completely different thing. We're not doing any of the Christmas songs, as of yet. And so with that, it's of course doing, it's basically Brad's hits. And so I use this guitar, and I have an old Crook 12 string that I actually used on the Opry 25 or 23 years ago whenever Celebrity was first released as a single. So it was fun to play this guitar again. I hadn't played it in, 25 years or so. But yeah, I use that on Celebrity and Online and Perfect Storm. I have the Dan Electro Tic Tac 6-string bass that I use to double some of Brad's guitar parts, like on Wrapped Around, where you have the so he's playing that line, and then I'm playing it an octave lower on the Tic Tac, and then I double some of the lines like on Ticks and some other things just to give it more punch, and played an old Takamine acoustic from the early 80s on She's Everything, just kind of doing a finger picking part. Yeah. And I get to play, a little bit, there's a song called The World, and on that I get to go out on the thrust and get to play some with the fiddle player Justin Williamson, and then get to play a solo on Old Alabama on this guitar. So, and of course, it's a different rig having to play, out with Brad live, because of course you're having to cover a lot of different sounds and such. So for that, I'm using one of those Line 6 M9s, because it will do chorus and vibrato and tremolo and like filtered effects and all sorts of stuff. And it's so I've got that, plus I've got a UA Starlight delay and a volume pedal. And I've got my normal Distortion pedal that I use, for dirt, and also to dump bass when I play Tic Tac. So, and then amp-wise, I'm not using the Headstrong, because the Headstrong isn't, I need a really loud amp for that stage because of how loud it is. Because I'm right next to Brad and his wall of amplifiers. So I'm actually using an old Pierce amplifier. If you're not familiar with Pierce, Dan Pierce helped design the Lab Series amps. And then when Norlin, kind of gave the axe to Lab Series amps, he went off and started Pierce amplifiers. And so I have one of the early Pierce amps. It's called a G1. And it basically sounds like a Lab Series amp, except it's a 112 and it has an EV12L in it. And it's got a great, compressor and good EQ on it and everything. And it gets really loud and it can get shook around a lot. So I might switch it out at some point and maybe, have a tube amp out there or something. But for now, it's kind of nice having a super, a pretty reliable amp that also gets a very different, again, going for a different sound than what Brad is going for with the kind of mix of the Vox and Dr. Z and the Train Rex and stuff. So, yeah, so that's been a lot of fun. And looks like I'll be finishing out the Canadian tour in mid-December. I think the last dates are around Toronto. They're like in London, Ontario, and Hamilton and such. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Been a fun holiday season, and then it'll be nice to be home for Christmas and such. But yeah, been a lot of fun, and yeah, I hope that you will go out and pick up Snow Globe Town or stream it or whatever you do now, and just enjoy it, because I think it's a really great album, and I was honored to be a part of it. All right, guys. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.